While others talk theory from their studios, I take you into the field to show you real deals, real investors, and real results. This is not classroom real estate. This is the unfiltered, boots on the ground playbook of the pros. Hi guys, my name is Brian Tripp. I live in Birmingham, Alabama, but I travel all across the country to bring you in-person interviews and property walkthroughs of professional real estate entrepreneurs. I'm so glad you're along for the ride, so let's get into today's show. What's up, everybody? We are in Chattanooga, Tennessee with Tag Thompson, and I'm getting ready to talk to Tag about the real estate market here in Chattanooga, which I think is interesting, especially when it comes to rental properties. But the thing I want to talk about first with Tag, who I guess I would call you, or maybe you'd call yourself a former wholesaler.
Sure.
Used to wholesale a lot of properties here in Chattanooga, and now you don't. For, I guess, a couple of different reasons. Kind of tell everybody your story. I'm interested to know maybe how big you got with wholesaling, how far you got down that rabbit hole, and then why you decided to completely leave and abandon that strategy.
Interesting. I've never talked to anybody about the full story before.
Well, let's go, because I think that this is important because we've got so many people wholesaling.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about it's the lowest barrier of entry. It's the easiest way to get into real estate, but it doesn't come without fill in the blank there, Tag.
Yeah. My wholesaling journey started on vacation. I was on vacation with a friend, and like our two families were on vacation together. And he'd been in real estate for a while, and he just kind of told me about, just kind of casually dropped in to conversation, the idea of wholesaling. And this was back in 2014, maybe something like that. I was very confused. I was like, what are you talking about? So you're a realtor? He said, no, not on a license or anything like that. So I was very confused about it, but he actually got me very excited about the idea, because wholesaling was a completely different animal a decade ago. At that time, wholesaling, from everything I could find, was really just kind of what we did. Your bottom basement, just absolutely trashed houses that have been boarded up. The sellers couldn't even get a realtor to come and even meet with them about selling it because it was only worth $10,000. And so that's how I was introduced to wholesaling at that time. And I was in a transition away from a career that I was in before. And I didn't necessarily need a lot of money, but I wanted to have a little side hustle. And this sounded like a great thing. So I partnered up with the guy that taught me about it. Just like they tell you now, a lot of the gurus do, it was easy. And it was a completely different world back then. There was no texting or PPC or anything. You literally just mailed or door knocked, and that was it. And then we'd send out 100 postcards and get 10 leads off of it. I mean, it was so easy, because the supply of houses that wholesaling really targeted at the time was huge. Like, there were so many. If you're listening to this from Chattanooga, East Chattanooga is an area that is still considered kind of a lower income, a rental area. But back in 2015 to 17, you could drive down the street and see, every third house was boarded up. It was really rough shape. Most of these things, would have gone sold at the tax sale, but nobody was willing to even pay money at the tax sale for them. So there's just a huge supply of these distressed houses. So it was just, it was fish in a barrel. Very, very easy to do. I felt good about it. A lot of the sellers that we talked to were frustrated because they literally could not sell it.
There's no other way to sell their house.
Yeah, and that's something that sounds foreign if you're just getting into real estate kind of in the last 5 years. But back then, it was a completely different world. Like, they were we had people begging us to buy their houses from them. Begging.
I would have people begging me, just signing the deed over to me so they didn't have the tax burden.
Oh, yeah.
I've got videos on my YouTube channel about I bought a house for $1,000 and people don't even believe this is real in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
but I'm just kind of confirming what you're saying.
Yeah, no, and I'll try to circle around to this, because we did end up going nationwide at one point. And there was I'll never forget, there was a duplex in Birmingham. I don't remember what neighborhood it in, but it was a bad one, I guess. But it was a renovated duplex, brick renovated duplex, new roof, new HVAC unit on both sides. And we got it for $20,000. Could not sell that thing for $20,000. A duplex rented, I don't remember exactly, but making plenty of cash flow on it, but you just couldn't sell it because at that point, the market hadn't developed enough and people didn't really see what they had. But it was just a completely different thing. So did really well with that. And we decided to expand, and I'll be honest with you, our eyes got a little bigger than you know, what we could handle at the moment. We went nationwide very early in the process. When we started TTP with Brent Daniels. We were in their first class. We were one of the first companies in the country to start doing SMS. We went nationwide pretty early on. It went pretty well. I mean, obviously, when you expand like that, you find a lot of the flaws in your systems, but it went pretty well. The pandemic hit right when we had just put a lease in on a 6,000 square foot office space. I mean, a week after we'd signed the lease, the world shut down, and we thought that was it. I mean, we were prepared, like, all right, let's roll it up and go home. And turns out that influx of cash from COVID inspired every investor in the country to start stacking up houses. So we had expanded to nationwide. We're doing really well. And then a few different things happened in the market. One is everyone realized that you can wholesale. You don't need a license, super low barrier of entry. So a lot of people got into the business, including some kind of larger corporate entities. And man, they just started buying up everything. And it's not a scarcity mindset. There is literally a limited number of houses that you can buy. And so as that squeeze happened, as all the inventory left the market, we find it harder and harder to find deals. We were cold calling, we were doing tons of SMS. It was still difficult to hit our goals. We always made money, never lost money, but it just got harder and harder to expand. And there was a little disagreement between me and my partner about kind of what trajectory we wanted to choose. And I'm not patting myself on the back for this because I didn't see it nearly clearly enough, but I did kind of see that the supply of distressed houses was going down. So in my opinion, we needed to pull back a little bit, like get our systems really dialed in, because I knew that we were hitting the supply issue every time. And he disagreed. He thought we should expand, get bigger, hire more people, do more stuff. So we ended up parting ways in 2020, and each kind of went to kind of do our own thing. He's a coach now, doing incredibly well, and really tried to just kind of continue what we were doing. But the same issue just kept happening, and it kept putting more and more and more pressure. We just saw profits go slimmer and slimmer and slimmer until eventually I wasn't making any money. I mean, I think it was maybe 2022, somewhere in there. I mean, it was hard to scrape deals together. It really, really was. And I got my license a while before and had been flirting with the idea. We got so many leads. I mean, so many leads from people that wanted to sell their house. And we were nationwide at the time, but I was shifting more toward a local focus. So I started to ask myself, okay, 80% of the leads we get go straight to the garbage can because they're not in distress and their house isn't really in any sort of distress. They just want to sell. So I started saying, okay, well, what if I just listed their house for them? That was kind of the first little thing that happened right there. Was I just said, what if I just list their house for them? And that worked better than I could have ever hoped for. It just did. When you're so used to trying to convince somebody to accept an offer that's 30% lower than they actually want, and now I can just say, okay, well, we can get you what you want. We can do that. We can list your house for you. So that went really well. But you can only really do that on a local stage, and I didn't want to expand, do anything big at the time.
As far as listing
properties, I didn't want to do a big. So that was just kind of like a side part of the wholesaling business. But then I got to the point where the wholesaling business was just losing money. I mean, it was just losing money, and the only money that was really coming in was from listings. So that made me take a really long, hard look at our model. And when you take a step back, it's easier to see how over time, we went from, hey, we're helping these sellers out that literally cannot sell this house, to, hey, these are pretty new houses, and the best thing for these people is to put it on the market and sell it, because they don't really need a big time thing. So really the only thing you can do is try to convince them that their house is worth less than it is, so you can kind of squeeze in some sort of assignment fee in that. But because like that happened over the course of 4 years, I didn't really realize what I had become in a way. And the day that it really broke inside of me was we had a $72,000 assignment fee on a deal, and the seller got $70,000 out of it. So we locked it up for 70,000, sold it for 142, which everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing! Go on a podcast, tell everybody in the world." And I couldn't sleep at night, like knowing that, holy crap, like this seller who, and if we're honest with ourselves, most of the people that we're dealing with when we're wholesaling are in a tough spot. I mean, they're in a tough spot and they don't know how to get out of it. It's very easy to kind of take advantage of people in that sense. So when I realized, like, holy crap, this person that's selling me this house for 70 grand could really use the money. I understand capitalism. I'm not anti-capitalist, but I think that any business without a heart will eventually lead to the downfall of capitalism. I mean, if you, in the midst of trying to re-strategize how I wanted to do this wholesale company, I had a huge amount of guilt on my shoulders for what we were doing. So I just decided that just needs to be a part of our business that we don't do anymore. I'm definitely not trying to say that I have any sort of moral high ground on anybody, because I did this stuff. Like, I was doing the same thing that I have a problem with today. But out of some long period of reflection, I just realized that it just took a little, like, first we were so happy with those little $4,000 assignment fees. They were amazing. It was awesome. We were listening to people online talking about these big $50,000, $100,000 assignment fees. And so we were like, okay, that's what we're supposed to be doing too. Like, we're smart, we're capable, like, let's do that too. And we did it. But I didn't realize what it cost other people to do that. And so for me, at that point, I just found that I would rather sleep at night. This is where I kind of lose the moral credibility on it, or I lose the moral high ground on it, is if the market hadn't turned, I don't know that I would have like realized that or felt that way. Like, if we were still making money hand over fist and everything was fantastic, I don't know that I would have paused and really looked at like kind of what we were doing. So yeah, I shut the whole thing down. I let all of the employees go that were kind of in the wholesale department, which was difficult because some of them were my best friends. But at some point, a man has to stand up and do, what he thinks is right. Yeah. So that's what I did. I haven't been vocal about it. I mean, other than some very close friends in the industry, like, you're the only person I've ever really talked to about this. I don't have a problem with wholesalers. Some of the people that including yourself, like some of the best people I know in the world, wholesale real estate. It was just a personal decision that I came to over that time, that it just wasn't something that I wanted to be a part of.
Well, Pat, first of all, thank you for sharing that. I understand what's happening probably inside of you, because it would probably be happening inside of me too if I was sharing this, because I don't feel like you're saying that if you wholesale property, you're this or that or the other. I don't hear you saying that at all. I heard you say numerous times it was a personal decision that you had to kind of come to terms with. But I will say this: you're not the first person that I've had this conversation with.
I'm sure I'm not.
I've had similar conversations with people that, a lot of folks watching this, very, very kind of high up type of people that are like, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. I don't feel right about it. It's like, so there's so much to unpack here because you said a lot there. But so I wholesaled from 2012, like, really hard. Well, I did my first deal in 2012. I started my business where I was really doing well in 14. And did that through about 2018, where we were probably the largest wholesalers, if not in the state of Alabama, definitely in Birmingham.
Yeah.
For sure. But going back to, I'm thinking back to even the end of 2016, I remember specifically our average wholesale deal, our assignment fee was like $4,800.
Oh, yeah.
It was under 5,000 for sure.
Our like, oh my God goal, like, holy crap, we were really hard. I remember writing it on the whiteboard was $6,000.
So I always shot for 5. 5 was the number that I felt like was fair.
Yeah.
For me to be able, my time, and like, that's a fair number. If I could get 10, that's a great deal. That's a great deal for us. And I remember I did a deal where I made 22,000 something and some change, because it was a double close. I was too scared to do an assignment.
Yeah.
I wanted to double close it because I didn't want anyone to know how much I was making. And when I made 22 and some change, and I remember these 14,000 ones, the 12,000 ones, the few and far between, but when they hit, I remember wholesaling deals for $1,000, $2,500, just to, hey, let's just move as many as we can. So, and Birmingham is, I think, similar to Chattanooga. Birmingham's just bigger, but I think it's similar to Chattanooga in the types of properties, the age of properties, especially when you start talking about like maybe the lesser type of areas where you can get these houses for 5, 10. Even today, you can get houses for $10, $15, $20,000 in Birmingham. You're not in great areas by any stretch, but you can definitely do that. I remember, like you just said, there was nowhere else for them to go, and that was the majority of our leads. The majority of our leads was taking us into those areas, and if we couldn't wholesale them, this is how I was buying them for cash, and I was seller financing them to somebody who couldn't get bank qualified. So, and I just wanted my money back for my down payment. If I bought it for $4,000, give me 4 down, and then $400 a month. So we were always able to do deals with these types of properties. I never got to the point where we were 70,000. I never did anything.
Yeah.
70,000. I mean, that blows me away to hear people doing like 6-figure wholesale deals and things like that. It blows me away. But as far as like the morality of wholesaling, I don't know that I ever had that moment. I don't, and maybe not. I never had a $70,000. I'm thinking back to the $22,000 one, and then I did a 31 or something like that, and I felt like I worked my tail off for stuff like that, to try to find the buyer. I felt like I was always trying to squeeze the buyer more than I was trying to squeeze the seller. Yeah. So I don't know that I ever came to that moment that you came to.
I don't know that it was a very personal experience that I don't judge anybody else if they disagree with me on it. It was just one of those moments where you take a moment and be like, oh man. And I'll be honest with you, like, I cannot stress enough that if we had been closing deals left and right and we had been really profitable, I might still be wholesaling. But the reason that I paused and said, should I be doing this, wasn't ethically originally. It was financial. It was, I don't know if this model works anymore. Yeah. And then in the midst of that, I realized, like, oh man, I can make more money doing other things and still sleep at night.
Would you advise people to start wholesaling today?
No. Very, very. I mean, I try not to deal in absolutes, so that no came out a little fast, and there was a lot of emotion behind it. But I would. I think if you want to get into real estate transactions, go get a license. There's more money. It's easier. There's way more help. And you're never put into a position. One of the things I hated about wholesaling was I always felt like I was always put right on the razor's edge of having to be dishonest to make it work. And if you're wholesaling and you say you've never felt like that, you do not have a conscience. Because the nature of the game, like, wholesaling operates on the razor's edge of legality. Like, if it weren't for the words "or assigned" you can throw into your contract, wholesaling would be illegal. But you can assign a contract. So,
well, let's talk about that for a second. Here's why I've never felt that. Well, I don't say never. this is why I haven't felt that way in a long time.
Yeah.
I ran into a guy named Jeff Watson, real estate attorney, who helped me understand the difference between wholesaling and assigning. Those are, even though the law in certain states, they don't distinguish between the two, but I do think it's important, because if you're assigning a contract, I get it. I'm kind of with you. I haven't assigned a contract in a decade, maybe a little less than that. I always take title now, the last 8 years plus, always take title. I'm doing it with the buyer's funds, but all these disclosures, I used to have a license. I used to own a brokerage. So in 2015, I opened my own brokerage. So I remember being on the phone, and this is the state of Alabama, and this goes state to state for sure, but I'm on the phone with the real estate commission telling them exactly what I'm going to do. They're like, no problem. Make sure there's a form that the seller has signed that says you're a real estate agent. Here's your intentions. You intend to make a profit. You intend to have another buyer come in. So I was taught pretty early on, not from the very beginning, but pretty early on, from about 2015 on, to disclose everything. And I ran into a guy named Tom Kroll, who was really adamant to me about being honest about everything, about being transparent about the whole process. And he used to say that, the more honest you are, the more they're going to kind of root for you.
Yeah.
The seller's going to kind of root for you. And it was true. So I just did a wholesale deal a couple of months ago. And I remember telling this, just being completely, just blatantly honest with the seller. Like, I cannot sell that property and you already know what I'm going to do. I told him what I was going to do. Yeah. I can't sell that property for that number. And I encourage you, want me to, I don't have my license anymore. I can get you an agent. No, I don't want to work with an agent. I'd rather discount it so you can sell it. Yeah. Because I want it done now. Yeah. I'm like, well, here's the process. Here's what's happening. That they're going to buy it for this amount. So even though it was a double close, I didn't have to tell them that. They could look it up later. Here, I'm selling it. This is how much money I'm making. Just letting you know. Cool. I'm good with that. So I never kind of ran into that. And I'm not saying that everyone operates the way I operate. No,
and they don't. And that's the thing. If everyone did, then I probably would still be in the industry. I told Tom this when he sold Wholesaling Inc. I said, I feel like you have taken the moral compass with you. Not that Wholesaling Inc. turned into anything different, but I feel like when Tom left the market, he was such a good and wholesome person to teach you how to wholesale. And when he left, it kind of created this vacuum that a lot of shady people were like, look, you mean low barrier entry, very high ability to make a lot of money training people to do this, and I can train them to do it in a pretty shady way. I'm in. So a lot of shady people got into the industry, which I do think that's when a lot of stuff shifted to, well, now we're doing novations. Now
don't even get me started with that crap.
Me neither. It should be illegal.
I don't get that at all.
Let me ask you something. Who's in your corner? One of the biggest breakthroughs in my real estate journey came when I stopped trying to figure it all out on my own and I started surrounding myself with high-level investors who are actually doing deals and building real businesses. That's why I created Board of Advisors, a curated mastermind for real estate entrepreneurs who are serious about growth. We're talking real conversations about cash flow, hiring, deal flow, burnout, and strategy, the stuff that actually moves the needle. We're meeting October 6th and 7th in Birmingham, Alabama. And if you've been feeling stuck or isolated, or like your business could grow faster with the right people around you, then I want you to go to boamastermind.com and enter that promo code podcast. That way you get a deep discount, and that way you can join us. When I say deep discount, I really mean it. I'm literally only covering my costs to host the event. So go ahead and go to boamastermind.com, enter that promo code podcast, and join us here in Birmingham. And I just want to be clear here, this isn't one of those flashy masterminds full of influencers trying to build their followings. This room is built for operators, real estate investors who want to scale their business, not their social media presence. Go to boamastermind.com, enter the promo code podcast, and meet me in Birmingham on October 6th and 7th.
Yeah.
Can you just take 1 second to explain novation?
Novations. So,
AKA
so
brokering without a license.
exactly. And charging somebody. So wholesaling is simple. Is simply like, okay, I have a contract with a seller to purchase it. And when you're assigning your contract, you're assigning your rights as the buyer of that house on the contract to a new buyer for a fee.
That's assignments.
That's assignments. When we're looking at what is a novation? A novation is somebody who, most of the time, you target them as someone to assign their contract, but they want market value. These people are rarely in any sort of distress. Their homes are in pretty good shape most of the time. So what you do, somehow you convince these people to sign a whole bunch of documents that basically gives you ownership rights in the property. You take those ownership rights, you give them, again, let's say the market value for the house is $100,000. You tell them, I'll give you $50,000. Well, then you tell them, sign these papers that gives you the right to sell that house on the market.
On the MLS.
Through a realtor. Now they got to do showings again. They've literally, the same stuff they'd have to do if they just hired that realtor in the first place, they still have to do, except they have to pay a wholesaler $40,000. I still don't know what for being in line, I guess. That's all it is. A novation is essentially, instead of selling that contract, you're officially replacing yourself.
Giving someone else ownership interest in a property and allowing them to market that interest on the market, on the MLS. Which, why wouldn't you just use a real estate agent? Because they literally are acting as an agent.
Absolutely.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So
it makes zero sense. Maybe someone else who does a lot of it can explain it better to me.
Yeah.
But here's the thing for me though, is I've had conversations with Alabama, with the actual real estate commission, in the Alabama Real Estate Commission. Ask them specifically, here's what's happening. I know it's happening. They're like, yes, they can do that. As long as such and such forms are disclosed, as long as this is disclosed, as long as this forms, they can do that. How? They can't give me an answer. They can't give me a correct answer. They have an ownership interest.
So they actually sign it's a form of deed. So they could technically steal this house.
I think there's a couple of different ways that people do it.
There is. All of them are sketchy though. And I have no problem saying that. Like, I have no problem saying that if any seller who ever agreed to a novation agreement had a conversation with me before they signed it, they would not sign it.
Okay, so Tag, right now you're acting primarily as a real estate agent in the state of Tennessee, and you still work with investors. And surely, maybe not, but surely you've come across wholesalers. You've come across people trying to do novations or doing novations. What are these conversations like between maybe a wholesaler who contacts you, with sellers who've had contact with wholesalers? What are these conversations like?
I mean, again, I'm not vocal about this. I don't have a t-shirt that says stop wholesaling. Like, it's not a mission of mine to stop anyone from wholesaling. Like, I don't feel any obligation to do that. I meet wholesalers all the time. I don't work with them. In fact, I have an investor client who he sends me deals all the time, and I do all of the work that I normally would for any buyer. I just don't take a fee in the transaction.
Not even a commission?
No, I don't take a commission in it. I say all the work. Like, I don't help getting contracts together or anything like that, but I help them do the due diligence part, comps, help him go and look at the property, make decisions like that. He's still my client.
Like a BPO type of thing.
Yeah. I'm still very involved. I don't want my name anywhere involved in that transaction.
Because they're using a wholesaler.
Because they're using a wholesaler. And I'm a broker in Chattanooga. I own a brokerage, Tennessee and in Georgia. And I have this nightmare scenario where, this sweet little African-American lady got taken advantage of by a wholesaler, and somehow my name is in on that transaction. And you never know. My old partner used to say, at some point, somebody is going to take advantage of a state senator's aunt or somebody. And somebody that state senator cares about is going to get a phone call, and it's going to be in the papers. That actually literally happened in Tennessee. Like, wholesaling is regulated in Tennessee as of March of this year.
How so?
So you have to disclose. And it's about as loose. I mean, you could drive a Mac.
So same with Alabama.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to disclose.
You just have to disclose. That's Alabama's law right now.
So, but the one thing you don't have to disclose is what you're making on it.
Sure.
And that's my problem. Like, I think if you had to tell the seller, hey, our purchase agreement is for $100,000. I'm going to sell this and I'm going to make $50,000. As long as you can say that, I'm good. As long as the seller knows that that's what's happening, I'm good.
I think right now you just have to say you're going to profit from it, right?
That's it. That's all you got to say.
Yeah. But they can, if it's an assignment, they'll know.
They won't know how much they made.
On an assignment?
It might be different in Alabama than it is in Tennessee and Georgia.
Okay. Tell me how.
So in Tennessee and Georgia, both parties get both sides of the transaction. The HUD, I'm not sure what they call it.
Right. But with an assignment, there's only one HUD.
Correct. And there's a line there that says assignment fee to whatever the name of the company is.
Oh.
So when they say, what is that? When the seller says, what is that? Like, what do you say? I think the client has a right to know that that's happening on that transaction.
Okay. I guess I'm just under the impression if it's a line item, they can see that.
They can.
And they can say, what is that? And closing attorneys I've closed with, if they don't already know it, like, they're going to know in my situation. But again, I haven't assigned in a long time. I will double close. Now you're talking about there's two sets of closing documents. They won't see my set of closing documents. So they won't necessarily know until it's already filed at the courthouse. If they wanted to go look that up, then they could after the fact look up what I sold it for versus what they sold it to me for.
Yeah.
I hear you. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I think a pre-disclosure. I don't mean like you get to the closing table
Understand.
and you're waving a check in front of them.
Understand.
I mean, like when you sign the original contract,
Tell them how much they're going to make.
They know that, hey, I'm going to sell this and I could make a lot of money. And I do think my biggest issue with wholesaling, which I've actually had since the beginning, is I think if you're wholesaling and you're purporting yourself as a buyer for that house,
For sure.
you're
lying.
You're committing fraud.
You're lying. But then there's, I guess there are ways around that. If you're double closing, did you buy it?
Sure. Absolutely. Yep. No problem. Great.
You took title.
However, I think if you go to, Susie Smith and say, hey, I'm a real estate buyer here in Chattanooga. I'd love to buy your house for $100,000. Great. Sign a contract. Then you go off and run that contract and never had any intention of actually being a buyer. That's fraud. Like,
No, and I'm with you there. I would never, if I'm wholesaling it, I would never have an intention of being a buyer.
Correct.
Even though I'm going to double close on it, I'm going to take title. So, but I'm telling them what I'm doing.
Exactly. So instead of the conversation going like what I just said, it goes, hey, I'm a wholesaler. My intent is to take this contract and I'm going to try to sell your house and get that much money to you, and I'll make some money.
So the way I usually frame it is, because I'm dealing in rental properties.
Yeah.
Like we're in Birmingham. Like, I'm not wholesaling A-plus properties or A properties, flip type of properties for Birmingham. Most of those go to the realtors. Even the ones that are in distress situations, they go to the realtors. And so I never really got it. When I was wholesaling, it was almost exclusively rental type of properties, the lower kind of income properties. And it would always be, I have a list of buyers.
Yeah.
Now you can go put this on the MLS and I can even help you do that. But the MLS, even though it's going to have a wider range of people, more people are going to see it. The people who need to see it are my buyers.
Sure. Yeah.
And so the reason you would work with me is for time, speed, convenience, all those things, but also because you're going to get a list of my buyers. I'm going to be able to market the property to my buyers. Mm-hmm. These are the people that would want to buy that property. So that's how I always framed it.
That's great. And I have no problem with
Never once tried to say, now there would be obviously situations where like, I want to buy that house.
Yeah.
Now I'm really wanting to be that buyer.
Yeah.
So you've transitioned. You are now a full-time real estate agent. You're a broker. You own a brokerage. You're operating in Tennessee and in Georgia. But again, I kind of want to go back to this. You're still working with investors.
Yes.
In what capacity? Is that your main part of your business?
Well, most of the things this is a big misnomer when I first started. Maybe people aren't like saying this anymore, but investors at meetup groups and things like that would always tell me like investors don't buy on market. And then I did the research and found out that no, like actually about 70% of investors buy every single property on market because again, that's where the majority of properties are. So yeah, I have, I don't advertise myself as the investor's agent or anything like that. My lead source that I get a lot of leads from still has a lot of investment properties that come in through it. So I still work with a lot of distressed sellers to get their houses listed. And just through that, I've made connections with, I know every investor in Chattanooga anyway, just like you do in Alabama. I know those people and I've picked about 5 or 6 that I'm like, I really like you. We work well together. They trust me. And they'll call me and say, I need a deal. And I'll go find one. And it's very, very simple to do.
But you don't work off market. Like you don't try to work with people who get deals off market. You're not doing your own marketing to get deals off market. Mm-hmm. Everything you're working with is MLS. You're just traditional real estate agent.
I'll be honest with you. I've just found that it's so much easier. I feel like when I was being a wholesaler, I was trying so hard to not be an agent and be a brokerage that I was working 10 times as hard because I was like, oh man, like an agent's only going to make, $8,000 on this one, or if I'm a wholesaler, I can make 20. But you have to work so hard to make that extra amount of money. I can do 8 retail deals with way less headache and make as much money. So there is more money, they're bigger checks, but that's also, my transactions are a lot smaller. My average commission is like $8,500. And so they're a lot smaller, but they're easy to get, easy to sell. I don't have to, that whole pressure of like, oh my God, I just got a deal under contract. Like I got to move it. Like I got to do all this stuff to try to move this deal. And in the retail world, it's just a lot more simple. I've got 2,500 other agents in Chattanooga that want to get somebody to buy this deal. So I don't have to push it out. Like they bring people to it. So it's simpler. It's easier. The profession itself, while I really did appreciate the constant innovation and use of technology and new tactics that like the wholesale industry has brought forth, I feel like if they paid attention, they would have realized like, oh, like the retail market's been doing that for a very long time anyway. Like some of the things that seem huge and innovative in the off-market space, like that's just part of regular business in the retail world. So yeah, I love my investor clients. We've got some really, really good, awesome investors here in Chattanooga. It's still definitely part of my life.
Let's talk about Chattanooga.
Yeah.
It's more of a rental market, I would assume.
Was.
Okay. Let's talk about that for a second. So you're working with investor clients. What are they buying? Are they buying to hold? Are they buying to fix and flip? Are they what else would there be?
So at this point in Chattanooga, we've only really got flip investors and equity investors that are doing much business these days.
And by equity investor, what do you mean?
Yeah, equity investors are fantastic. They're very easy to work with because they're very analytical and all they want.
But what is an equity investor?
They're looking for properties that are of value that they see will appreciate more than the money they have into it.
So they want to hold it.
They just want to hold it.
So rent.
But a lot of them don't. A lot of them will hold it and board it up.
You got to help explain that to me.
Yeah, so a lot of investors, if they see a good deal on this is one of the things I look for is, I look for houses that are, a few blocks outside of where the good neighborhood is. So in Chattanooga, we're in the middle of Jefferson Heights right here. So it's a very good neighborhood. I think it's probably the highest price per square foot in Chattanooga is kind of right where we are. So what I would do, but if you go, a little ways that way is Avondale, and Avondale is not a good neighborhood. So what they always want to do is they want to go like 2 or 3 blocks into Avondale and start buying up value properties there. If it's already occupied, obviously they'll keep a tenant in it. But if it's not, a lot of them don't care about the cash flow. For them, it's simply, I'm buying this thing for $70,000 and I'm pretty sure in 10 years I'm going to sell it for $250,000. Just simply because the price per square foot is growing in that direction.
You're still going to have to help me with that because even 70 to 250 in 10 years is really not amazing. And
that's 300%.
But you have to divide that by 10.
Okay.
Because it's 10 years.
10 years.
Okay. So if that is 30% per year annualized, okay, you got 30%. But now what's going on with the house though? Like, is the house being demolished in 10 years?
Oh no, they'll sell it.
Huh?
They would just sell it.
But the house is deteriorating if no one's living in it.
Some of them are, but again, they will board it up.
That doesn't make sense.
It's different in every scenario.
Yeah.
These guys, those investors are usually from another country.
Got it.
And they're playing with amounts of money.
Sure.
That a lot of times they're fine if it doesn't make any money because they can write the loss off. They'll bury debt in this stuff. They'll do all kinds of interesting kind of financial tactics. So I realize it doesn't make sense to me and you who flip houses and understand that aspect.
I was trying to, yeah.
But to them, it makes perfect sense.
Gotcha. Okay.
And they're doing good things for the neighborhoods because those people usually don't want a deal. They don't really care about
How is that good for the neighborhood? A bunch of vacant houses boarded up.
Oh, there's never a bunch of them. They're not buying 30 or 40. They'll buy the worst house on the street, and they don't always board it up. Again, if it's already occupied, they'll keep it as rental property.
Sure.
But yeah, that's
interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of that. Okay, so you got equity deals, but what about just the people buying houses in Chattanooga to rent them out? Rental property in Chattanooga. People aren't really doing that, or you're not really working with them?
Well, it's tough because Chattanooga, we have a housing crisis.
Sure.
Like it is too expensive to rent a house in Chattanooga. And that comes out of the fact that, I already told you, 10 years ago, 1 in every 3 houses was boarded up in the main rental part of Chattanooga. Well, all those houses were purchased, renovated, which means rent prices went through the roof. So, they've doubled since 2020 in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
So now it's very hard for and with the supply of all those really distressed houses gone,
sure,
it's hard to find a property that you can get a mortgage against and the numbers make much sense to you. 5-10 years ago, when you could get a house for $10,000-$20,000, put 20 into it, you got a nice little rental property cash flowing. Like that dream is gone in Chattanooga. Like those deals are incredibly rare. And Chattanooga had a ton of hedge fund purchases.
Yep.
Like 30% of the properties.
Yeah.
Most of our zip codes were purchased by hedge funds. So hedge funds are absolutely fine with letting that property sit vacant until they get the number they want for it.
Wow.
They're way less concerned about if they can lower it from $1,400 a month to $1,200 a month, they could probably get a tenant. But they'd rather just wait and get that $1,400 a month. So yeah, it's tough. It's hard to find rental properties.
Chattanooga is starting to expand. Are people starting to go a little bit further outside of the main part of the city now? Because
it has been since 2020.
So what are some of those areas? Maybe some of the up and coming areas.
Yeah, I love Dalton, Georgia, which is about 20 miles, 30 minutes south.
Is that all it is?
Yeah, it's not far. Yeah.
Wow.
So I love that. So the Dalton to Cleveland, Tennessee corridor. So Chattanooga is kind of, in the center here, and Dalton is down here in Georgia. Cleveland is kind of straight up
from Dalton.
So it takes about 30 minutes to get to Chattanooga, but it also takes about 30 minutes to get up to Dalton. And so that corridor, I think, has been overlooked for a long time because it seems a bit more rural, but it's about the only place where you can still get a house for under $100,000 that maybe just needs a little bit of work. So I'm loving that corridor right now.
For rental or retail
For
or both? For rental.
Retail, and I've told all my investors this, if you're wanting to buy a flip right now, you need to get into the city. Like, get into the city. I mean, that's investor 101 is if the market's not booming, people are looking for more of an urban environment. So try to stay as close to the city as you can. And I found that myself. I flipped a house that I ended up having to pull it off the market because we couldn't sell it. So I pulled it off the market and going to rent it for a year. But it was just a little too rural.
But going from Dalton to Cleveland, that kind of, I'm assuming there's a highway that connects those two. I don't know. I'm not super familiar. But that right there is kind of, if I'm looking to get into some rental property in the Chattanooga area.
Yeah. Because again, it's one of the few areas where you can buy a 3-2, for $100,000 and still charge $1,200, $1,300 a month for it. Yeah. It's one of the few areas that you still can. It doesn't have great interstate access, which is why it's overlooked a lot.
Right. I don't know that you want good interstate access over here.
Not right now.
The interstate system going through Chattanooga.
What is interstate access?
The interstate system. I hate going through Chattanooga. There's like this, like if I'm trying to get north of here and I'm coming from Birmingham on 59, it is like the biggest cluster. It just, everything comes to a standstill unless you're going through this city in the middle of the night.
Well, I think what they figured out is that if you never stop construction on it, they can't complain that you're not fixing it.
So is that what's going on? It's just been construction?
I've lived in Chattanooga since 2000, and I don't know that I've ever not seen cones on the interstate like that thoroughfare, the Ridge Cut. I mean, it's been ridiculous.
Gotcha.
So,
Ty, before you go, I want to ask you, kind of almost going back to a question I alluded to. I don't know if I fully asked it, because this is something, if I'm an investor, or if I hate to even use the word investor, if I want to get into real estate as a business, to do real estate, it's always been forever. And you can go online now, you can go on YouTube now, you can go anywhere now. The lowest barrier of entry, you got to start wholesaling. That's the easiest way to get into real estate. You can I did my first deal with very little money, if any, out of pocket. I found the seller on Craigslist, found the buyer on Craigslist. I mean, really just like, I had no money and I made $10,000 on my first wholesale deal. So if it's obviously an option, but if that's something you would advise against, what would you advise people to do if they want to get into real estate and they don't have a whole lot to start with?
This may sound harsh. Go find something to start with.
So do you need something to start with? Because, I mean, even if I'm going to flip a house, if I use other people's money to help me buy the house.
That's something to start with. Other people's money.
Okay.
Other people's money. I think that's one of the most damaging things that we did in the wholesaling education space was promote that idea of you don't need any money, you don't need any education, you can be dumb as a rock, anybody can do this. I think what we did there was we sold a lot of courses, but we brought a bunch of people that had no clue what they were doing into the industry, because wholesaling is difficult. Like it is, you are dealing in contract law.
I think the first thing you said was it was so easy for you guys.
It was easy for us, but I mean,
I'm joking. I'm just giving you a hard time.
No, but I also partnered with somebody who'd been doing this for a long time already. Yeah. I got a huge head start. The success that I had in wholesaling, 90% of it was because of David Olds. So I got a huge head start. Somebody did some research, and I'm going to try to find it. If I don't find it, don't put it in the video, or at least a big discussion.
We don't edit stuff out, so this may or may not be true.
It is true, but I want to be able to find it before I tell you. It is more likely to be a high school boy and become a professional baseball player than it is to buy a real estate course and make any money on it. Like, as far as the success percentages of people that actually try to wholesale or try to get into real estate, because not everybody goes that route. It is easy. Like, it's statistically easier to become a professional baseball player. So as easy as it is to do, it's not as easy as you think to start. Or at least I think the first deal's usually your easiest one. Or I think it's difficult when you try to be a business. Right?
So that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I can count on one hand, possibly two if I really thought about it, how many wholesale businesses are out there running. Like I'm talking about somebody who, I'm the owner of this business, and a business, by the way, is a set of, it's something that runs basically without you.
Sure, yeah.
It's a set of systems and processes that runs mostly without you. That's a business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of more than 5 or 6 of those throughout the whole country.
Mm.
And I'm not saying I know everybody, but I know a lot of people.
You're a lot more plugged in than I am, and that's surprising to hear you say that.
There's even fix and flip. I don't know of how many fix and flip companies are out there where the owner of the company is not the company.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these turnkey operations that are technically flipping houses, there's a few of those that I know of that are running very, very well.
Yeah.
A few.
I don't know if there's one in Chattanooga. I know one in Memphis.
There's one based in Birmingham that is in the Chattanooga market, and it has been for quite some time, and they're doing extremely well. And Spartan Invest, by the way, they're a sponsor of ours. Shout out to Sponsor Invest. They're incredible. Great people. I hear what your point, is that it's very difficult to start a real estate business. Like you're investing in real estate as a business. Now, what is not as difficult and what has proven for decades and decades and decades going all the way back is to buy a rental property, buy another rental property, buy another rental property, and slowly over time, you wake up in 10 or 15 years and I've got 10 or 15, 20 properties now, and those things have shot up in value. You've cash flowed presumably the whole time. You basically have zero tax bill on the cash flow, and someone else is paying your mortgage for you. Someone else is paying the debt for you for the most part. That is a tried and true business that has worked for decades and decades and decades. And the vast majority of people that I know personally who are wealthy from real estate, they did it that way.
Absolutely.
Now, they probably also did some flips along the way and possibly some wholesales along the way to get more capital in order to buy more rental property.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like operating a wholesale business,
no doubt. There's hardly any. I don't know of a better retirement investment strategy than buying rental properties. Like there just isn't and a lot of it's tax related, but there's just so many benefits
and appreciation.
I mean, it's a very, very good retirement strategy. I don't know of anybody that is rich pre-retirement because they're a landlord in Chattanooga. And I know people that have a couple hundred properties.
Oh, I do. A lot, not in Chattanooga, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm 100% sure there are.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are in Chattanooga. I just don't know them.
But as far as like people who are retiring from owning a fix and flip business or a wholesale business, I know of one.
Yeah.
One.
I know of one.
Literally one.
I know one. Yep.
But what did they do with their money? They started buying a ton of rental property.
Yeah.
So it all comes back to that to me.
Yeah.
And I think that you can, going back to, you kind of have a different definition. That's why I asked you to explain it. But bringing in equity partners, even if you don't have a whole lot to start with, starting with something, and even if that something is the equity partner, you can start buying rental property today. Even if you have no money, bad credit, if you start to get the knowledge and you really start to understand, maybe go work for a property manager, maybe go work in real estate and start to learn real estate really well. And now you can bring that to the table and partner up with someone who does have the money. And you start splitting some of these rentals 50-50 for a little while until you get on your feet. I think there are ways to get into it. And I don't necessarily agree that wholesaling, not like just wholesale, it's a terrible thing. And I don't know that you're saying that either.
It's not.
I still think that there's opportunity in wholesale if done the right way.
I'll admit very readily, I used to be nationwide. Like I had my pulse on the market in every area that we were wholesaling, which was in most states. The last 3 years, I'm not doing that. So my knowledge of how things are going out there is really, other than like a macro level, like is really Chattanooga. So it could be needed and necessary and great in other markets.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure Chattanooga is the right one.
If they're interested in great opportunities for rental property, you're going to get in touch with Tag because he's going to help you, and he's only going to take a real estate commission. He's not going to wholesale you any deals. And how can people get a hold of you?
You can reach out to me on any social media. It's just Agent Tag Thompson is that one. That's usually the best place to find me, but cool. I'm a broker, so my number's in the book.
Perfect. We'll put that information. He didn't give his number, so I'm not going to put that in the description. But in the description, make sure you click on Tag's info, give him a follow, and make sure you share this episode with people. Thank you, Tag.
Yeah.
Appreciate you sharing a lot of this. I know some of it's pretty personal, so thank you for as many people as we can help, I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thanks so much for listening to today's show. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you got any value today, please take 30 seconds and leave us a quick review. To get connected with me or to become a part of the Board Advisors community, go to boamastermind.com. That's boamastermind.com. We'll see you guys on the next one.